Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. My name is Jamin Thomas. I have my colleague Sinu Peter with this session as well. We would like to discuss smarter security operations with a hybrid SOC engagement model. We will be touching on what is the advantages of having a hybrid type of SOC and that engages with the customer with a collaborative approach and provide much more visibility and provide the right level of the KPIs and reporting and dashboards that provides much more value, helping organizations to track and manage their cyber risk. So we will start with who we are and CyberProof. So CyberProof is a managed security service provider helping large enterprise organizations to enhance and improve their cyber threat detection and response capabilities. We have a global footprint. We have our cyber defense center locations around the globe, and we are a part of UST Global. UST Global is a large IT services and digital transformation provider with operations in over 25 countries and 45 delivery centers around the globe. CyberProof have got access to some amazing talent, including nation-state expert, and that's one of the reasons why we set up our delivery centers, the primary delivery center out of Tel Aviv in Israel. We also have a strong R&D team that allows us to cater for our customers' complex requirements by creating customized solutions and also helps customer to meet the demanding requirements from a regulatory point of view within the cost and budget the customer have. So if you look at some of the challenges with the traditional outsourcing model, in most of the cases, it is a pure black box to customers. There is minimal visibility into the SOC operations, and customer often feel very disconnected. Communications is very reactive, and using traditional means such as emails or telephone calls is the way that customers communicate with the service provider. And there is a clear lack of collaboration there. There is very reactive in the way that you look at dealing with security incidents and managing those risk mitigation activities. A rigid and standardized model that is adopted by organizations or the service providers means that there is less flexibility in terms of how the services are delivered. And this also impacts the scalability when it comes to adding additional capabilities or expanding the scope of the monitoring service. The services are also underpinned by SLAs, but many times they also fail to provide the performance indicators and metrics that drive that continuous service improvement, which many organizations are looking for. And the outsourcing model shifts the responsibility to a third-party provider. However, the accountability of the cyber threat defense is actually within the organization itself. But in terms of managing that, many times organizations are not very clear how to manage that accountability and the responsibility when that shift happens between the services are outsourced to a third-party provider. So these are some of the challenges that I see, when it comes to the traditional outsourcing model. So I'm going to hand over to Sinu, who can probably explain, what are some of the solutions out there. So Sinu, over to you.
Thanks, Jamon. And at CyberProof, we recognize that there is a need for more transparency and collaboration during the course of a SOC operations. Your analysts need to be able to talk to each other, but also be able to talk to perhaps your managed security service provider. And we want to enable our customers, this is the mission at CyberProof, to leverage the latest technologies in assisting in this collaboration. So what we've done at CyberProof is develop our own SaaS-based service delivery platform, purposely built for delivering that next generation co-sourced SOC services. And the purpose of this platform is primarily to act as a single pane of glass for your security operations and enable us to deliver that cloud native service at speed with complete transparency and with real-time chat ops collaboration. So some of the features on the platform are bringing together orchestration. So trying to actively reduce the tool interfaces that the analysts need to use in the SOC operations, bring in some smart automation. So reducing the alert fatigue by minimizing the false positives and validating events, providing you a complete transparency of SOC operational activities and collaboratively work with various experts for alert investigation and incident response using our chat ops functionality, providing enrichment both from internal sources, for example, enriching the state of a host, of a user, of an IP address during the course of an investigation, and also using our virtual analysts who provides better alert enrichment context, leverage API integrations, and connections back into your existing security controls. And if you move on to the next slide, I wanted to kind of work a little bit more on Simo. I wanted to introduce you to Simo. He's our virtual analyst. He plays a very key role in our hybrid SOC. He recognizes the need for smarter automation and enables our security teams to focus on making informed decisions. Simo is part of our CDC platform. He works with human analysts as part of the team and improves the efficiency of various activities, freeing up major of the tier 1 and tier 2 activity time, and enables our human analysts to focus on more of the critical incidents. Jemon, I've kind of talked about how we have sort of bought some of our technologies into the solution. What do you think would be a better way to sort of continuously improve and bring that improvement to our SOC operation?
So if you look at, you can't detect a threat that you don't really understand and you cannot define. So organizations need to follow a threat-centric approach when it comes to cyber defense. Many times organizations are taking a bottoms-up approach and they create use cases based on the data sources that they have. And this is a very traditional approach, and really it provides very little value in helping organization to understand the risk and reduce the risk. And an effective means to do this is what we call a top-down approach, by starting to understand what is the organization's threat profile, and from there look at the risks to that by evaluating the control gaps, and then define a strategy that helps the organization to detect the most important threats, and then build a robust response process around that. And this is exactly what we have done when it came to defining how are you going to understand the threats and respond to that. And we built it what we call use case kits as part of our use case factory. So if you just move to the next one. And before I go there, I'll also kind of explain some of the key challenges the organizations really have. So one of the challenges that organizations see is that they don't have a clear view of what their coverage is when it comes to cyber threat detection and response. And with the constant changes that is actually happening in the cyber threat landscape, new vulnerabilities and threat actors coming in every day, you need to really understand to have an agile process that helps to keep up with all these new tactics and techniques, and help the organization to improve that detection capability and also build that response capability to mitigate those threats. So baselining the current capability also helps to position clearly to measure the improvement. And using an industry standard like MITRE framework helps an organization to measure this based on what the other organization in the same industry is doing. And one of the most important thing that we need to understand is, in order to get all this working effectively, you have to have a very clearly defined and mature process. You have to have highly experienced, skilled resources, and more importantly, have the right technology in order to get that done in an effective manner without really, giving control to a third party provider. And this is exactly what the use case factory do. So we created the use case factory approach, which is basically an agile means to help organization detect and respond to cyber threat. So the use case factory is a unique model that continuously develop use cases as content for your business based on the threat conditions that change and evolve. And it helps you to reduce your organization's cyber risk on an ongoing basis. So how do we do that? So we actually start with doing what we call scenario workshops, and this actually helps us from that top-down point of view to really understand what is the current cyber threat profile that our organization have. And from there, we will actually kind of identify what are the threats that needs to be prioritized and detected. We also employ other capabilities like threat intelligence, for example. We also take information from the information that we can get from our SOC team and also from frameworks like MITRE in order to help organizations build that strategy, the content strategy, in helping define those threat detection rules. From that, we actually go into what we call, define those attack scenarios, which is a kind of a baseline documentation that clearly defines what are the data sources that we need to have, what is the logic that needs to be developed, what are the response procedures that needs to be, defined, and how is that containment that's going to happen. This could be automated responses, or this could be manual containment action that will be taken by a SOC analyst. We also need to look at, what is those KPIs and reports and dashboard that needs to be built in order to provide much more visibility into the SOC analyst and also, more importantly, to the senior leadership. This then goes into what we call the factory model. This is where we have highly skilled use case engineers covering the development of the rules, the development of the playbooks, the integrations in order to do all the automations, including proactive containment that you can actually take. We will test and validate this in our environment before we push this into the production. And there is a continuous improvement that actually goes into this so that we can fine tune it to make sure that this is providing the value the customers are looking for. This also then goes into our use case catalog, which allows our customers to use this, leverage these use cases from the catalog as and when needed. So I would like to also just quickly touch on, how do you measure the capabilities to make sure that you are continuously improving your cyber threat detection capability. And this is also a shift from looking at from an SLA point of view to a KPIs-based reporting. And this is really important because SLAs don't really provide much value to customers when it comes to a SOC as a service. And this is why we have focused on building KPIs, and this is based on 3 specific areas that you will see here. So the first one is looking at how do you improve your visibility and coverage, and this is based on the alerts and incidents that you see. You will also look at what kind of alerts that you have identified which will result in an incident, and what are the false positive alerts that you have to take back and do that additional fine-tuning. Time and efficiency is also extremely important because when it comes to the ability to detect and respond, you need to also have a view of how quickly can someone acknowledge a specific alert coming in, and how quickly can someone do a containment action or escalate to the customer or the relevant parties in order to mitigate that specific risk. We also be able to manage average time it took actually to reduce that risk or mitigate that problem. And then it comes to the accuracy in terms of how the SOC is actually able to manage issues, the level of incidents, managed and closed by the level 1 or level 2 or various different functions within the SOC, and also the use cases and playbooks and how they are effective, how the effectiveness of those use cases and playbooks. And these are some of the alert KPIs that you will actually be able to kind of get from the CDC platform. So some of them are the mean time to acknowledge, because this is also something really important when it comes to the ability to understanding the capacity of a specific team in order to manage that specific set of alerts coming in from the customer. The mean time to respond also helps to improve the workflows. Look at how you can automate some of those activities so that some of the containment activities like isolating a machine or disabling a specific user due to some malicious activities happening could be done much more effectively. False positive also helps to improve the SIEM rule effectiveness or the EDR policy effectiveness. So that's also really important to understand, and also continuously help organizations to improve that coverage and provide much more value to the service that the customer is getting. And then coming to incidents, so it's also very important to understand how the service provider is handling issues for that organization. So average time to close an incident is really important to measure the efficiency of the SOC team. How the playbooks are defined, how the skills of the staff members are in order to manage that, and work very closely with the customer in order to make sure that those risks is managed in an effective manner. Capabilities like time to escalate, whether that is to a level 2 team or an incident responder team at customer side, or even to a specific stakeholder within customer, is also really important, so that you understand how quickly the team can actually react based on the specific indicators that you actually get, or the context that you have from the additional analysis and investigation that you do as part of the SOC operations. And it's also important that the team has got the right level of communications and interactions. And average time for level 2 to respond is also really important, because that also helps to understand the capacity of the senior team, and more importantly also help to understand what are the areas that you can actually bring in additional improvement, whether that is through automations or by enhancing the workflow that is already defined. So I'll hand over to Sinu to kind of conclude some of these key things that we just discussed. Sinu, over to you.
Thank you, Jaimon. I mean, this is quite interesting, because as the SOCs evolve and we are becoming more into a DevSecOps sort of a world with agile methodology, some of the key takeaways here was that our CDC platform provides a single collaborative environment for a co-source security operations, bringing value to that hybrid operation. Our use case factory enables the agile development and optimization of your content, both from a SIEM detection content, but also an incident response workflow that you have. We can bring to you the latest KPIs that can be used to measure for visibility across your estate, coverage across your estate, time to measure your time and efficiency and accuracy across the estate. I hope this session was useful for you, and I look forward to hearing from you. You can reach us at our website for a quick demo if needed, and also meet us at InfoSec. Thank you.